Welcome to Not Guilty, Lawyers, Guns, and Money.
Welcome to Not Guilty, Lawyers, Guns, and Money with Edward D. Johnson III, founding attorney of Edward Johnson and Associates, PC. Edward is a Chicago criminal defense attorney known for handling complex cases involving cash seizures, forfeiture, and serious criminal charges, often stepping in when people are trying to get their property back from the government. I'm Leann Lyon, and today we are talking about what goes wrong after money is seized, specifically the mistakes people make when they try to file a claim to get it back. Hello, Edward.
Hello, Leann. Thanks for having me.
Edward, once someone's money is seized, what does the process of trying to get it back actually look like at the beginning?
There are a lot of mistakes people make. We're kind of jumping into this into a sense of your money's been seized by the police. They gave you a receipt at a traffic stop or at the airport, and then you get a letter about 14 to 30 days from the seizure, and they'll have a letter called a claim form. You'll need to fill out this form. If you're stopped at the airport, sometimes it'll be Homeland Security, sometimes the DEA, they'll make the stop, and then what do I do next? Right? That's really the big question. And there's really easy mistakes to make. I think like the top 5 biggest mistakes that everyone makes, I'll just kind of go through a list, is when you get that claim form, is to select to actually do a remission. There's like 3 options you'll get on there. And it'll say one would be, I want to go directly to the judiciary, which means like you're going right to the court. That's what we tell everyone to pick. Because you don't want to be negotiating money with the agency at all that sees the money, right? It's pretty much you're negotiating with the police. You think they're going to want to give you your money back. What do you think? Would you want to do that? I mean, or would you rather have a fair judge decide the situation?
Yes, please.
So that's the 5th mistake. Like that's the first one that people make. They admit to remission and they will actually try to negotiate with a government agency, which its sole purpose is to take your assets and money, which we tell people that's a huge mistake. The 4th one that people will do is they'll say too much on these claim forms when they're filling them out, and it might not be true or they're not sure, and they'll over-disclose everything on the sheet, and then maybe you get into a situation later where they actually ask you in interrogatories or with subpoenas, or you get deposed, and you can't actually answer those questions truthfully, and you can get in a lot of trouble. Then you run into the 3rd one, which is kind of the same as is more when people just simply try to negotiate with the agency, and that's kind of the same situation. They'll allow you to contact them and try to negotiate the whole thing. Don't do that. That's the 3rd one. The second biggest one is not consult with an attorney. You're about ready to start this huge government agency fight for a lot of assets that you have, and you need to talk to a lawyer. You don't have to hire one, but call us. We're here. I have a 24-hour call center. You can call at any time. Give us a call. I'll get in touch with you, and we'll make sure that at least you fill the forms out right. And the number 1 biggest mistake is people just don't file a claim. And after 35 days, once you receive that letter, the money's gone.
Wow. Okay. So to just back up a moment, when you talk about money, we're talking about the green stuff, right?
Yep. The green stuff or Bitcoin. It can be digital money. It can be gold, assets, cars, you name it. They're trying to take it.
Okay. So in what situations would this money have been seized?
It could be in a traffic stop. You could have a large amount of money going to buy a vehicle, leaving the airport. Like a lot of people from Jamaica, if there's a death in the family, they'll have to bring home money, and part of their, family's like kind of what they're telling me is like, someone died in my family. I have to bring money home to pay respects and to pay for the wedding and bring that stuff. And a lot of people carry cash, and carrying money is not illegal, but once they see it going through TSA, they ask a lot of questions and they'll seize it. They can freeze your bank accounts, your Bitcoin trading, your financial accounts, those types of things.
So can it even be something as innocent as what you mentioned, somebody carrying money through the airport to pay for funeral expenses? and that can cause a seizure.
Yeah, or you could have just sold a vehicle for cash, right? You could. A lot of semi truck drivers will sell a big rig, and those will be like $100,000, $200,000. They'll get cash for it. They're not a bank or loaner, so they end up carrying the money, and the police try to seize it.
So, what's happening when someone tries to file a claim on their own without a lawyer?
Yeah, they're making those five mistakes, right? Well, the bottom four. The first one, at least they're filling out the claim, so they're not making the biggest mistake. But they'll either choose to talk and negotiate, or they'll try to have a mitigation remission with the agency, which is like you'll have to provide all these documents and proof, and then they'll get back to you maybe a year or 2 years. The waiting period's terribly long in that situation. That's another reason not to do it, because there's no actual timeline by law in the administrative agency that tells you when this has to be resolved. So you don't have a lot of power there, and they'll check the box. They'll think, okay, well, it's my money. That they'll know, and they're not giving the money back. I haven't seen any or heard from anyone that actually checked that box and got money back.
Huh.
So it's a really bad idea.
So, at that first filing stage, where do cases start to fall apart?
Once you run into pure like document disclosures, there seems to be problems where people haven't paid taxes, they don't have proof of income, they don't have a real legitimate business, they run into issues. But it's all fixable if you have an attorney, and you apply the right claim forms with the right assets, disclosures, and everything in there. You just need to be organized and not disclose too much at the beginning because you just want it to go to court. That's the best situation.
Aha, so there's a good point. You want it to go to court. Okay, noted. What kind of proof actually matters when somebody is trying to show their money was obtained legally?
Any sort of correspondence towards, how you got the money, bank withdrawals, settlements. Let's say you got in a car accident, you got a large settlement because of that. That would explain, where you got the money from, or if you sold the vehicle, bill of sale. All those types of bank transactions are really helpful.
And where do inconsistencies in somebody's story or paperwork start creating the problems for them?
The biggest problems I've seen are with people who claim to have businesses that aren't registered, or they've said that I'm running this business and I'm making all this money, and they'll provide documentation that we would say we shouldn't disclose it because it's very questionable.
Mm.
But that's why you need an attorney, right? You need somebody before you put all that out there and send it to the government. You set yourself up for failure.
And then, so once a claim is filed, how does the government typically respond? And what kind of case are they trying to build against the person?
It goes to the agency first. The agency seizes the money. Then they send you the claim form. You fill out the claim. You decide to go to court. Then once the agency gets that form, they'll send you notice saying, okay, well, now that you checked this box, we're going to send you over to the DOJ, which is the federal attorney's office within whatever state's handling it. And then these lawyers will make a determination, not the agency, which is what you don't want the agency to be involved. Is they'll have the DOJ will look at it, and they can tell, okay, is this you have a lawyer looking at it now. These lawyers aren't trying to fill their docket with too much work, right? They're trying to see how legitimate this is, and it really puts you in a better position, hands down, than if you had the agency doing it.
Now, I'm just going to throw a question out. What if this money was obtained in a questionable way? Is it still eligible to come back to you?
Yeah, they have to show there's a nexus, and what the nexus has to be connected to is some sort of criminal activity. Just having money isn't illegal. If you earn this money and you've done it, it's fine. If you're buying drugs with it and money laundering, no, obviously not. But a lot of people aren't doing that. They're not El Chapo. They're just hardworking Americans carrying this money. They don't trust banks. You don't have to put everything in a bank, and they take their savings. And yeah, everyone had a grandma that put money in a jar and saved it up, and then it was in the mattress, and then it builds up over time, and you're transporting it, and now they're trying to take it from you. It seems unfair. So there's a lot of different issues that come up with it, and everyone can kind of have money, move it around. You could be selling car parts. There's a lot of barbers have a lot of cash. I'm sure you could think of so many people that just are in the cash business, bartenders. It's wild.
So, can you share an example of a case where the way a claim was handled early on made a big difference in the outcome?
I have a hand. I don't think we have that much time, but the the gist of these is where we get on the case and we transfer it to the government agency. We make a minor disclosure as to where the assets came from. We get in contact with them before they file a claim, and then we're able to get the money back before the claim's filed with the DOJ in the Northern District of the Federal Court in Illinois, or wherever it would be in Minnesota, the Southern or Northern Minnesota federal courts. There's a lot of different, whatever federal court they're in. We're trying to talk to the agencies and be like, hey, you don't have to file this. We can prove the money. Let's save the time, get the money back. And that's by checking the right box, having an attorney, filling all those things out, and getting it away from the agency.
So, if somebody has just had money seized and hasn't filed anything yet, what should they do first to protect their chances of getting it back?
They have to look at the time dates, timestamps on that document. You got 30 days. Just don't wait too long. But what they should do is start getting your financials together. I'm sure you're upset. You got to calm down. You're like, they just stole my money. You'll be okay. But then talk to an attorney, call our office. We're available 24 hours. Anything you need, call us. We'll explain to you the process. We work on contingency. You don't even have to pay us. We just take a percentage of the money that you get back. So we're free till we get your money back, and we take a percentage. So it's a pretty good deal.
That's the next question I was going to ask. Like, I think people hesitate to contact a lawyer because they think, oh, it's going to cost too much. They're going to charge me the minute I do. But that's not the case in all types of situations. And now, as you pointed out in this one, is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we wrap up today?
I mean, just remember those 5 things I said, and I think those will keep you out of those big problem areas with civil forfeiture.
Well, that is it for today's episode. Thank you for listening to Not Guilty: Lawyers, Guns, and Money with Edward D. Johnson III of Edward Johnson and Associates. If your money has been seized and you're trying to get it back, visit edwardjohnsonlaw.com to learn how Edward and his team can step in and protect your claim. Remember to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you, Edward.
Thank you. Appreciate your.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.